We'll call this planning commission meeting to order. This meeting and all meetings of this committee are open to public. Proper notice has been posted and given to the press in accordance with Wisconsin statute, so citizens may be aware of the time, the place, and the agenda of the meeting, and we'll have a roll call.
Kemp.
Here.
Brunner.
Here.
Appleby.
Here.
Ebert.
Here.
Annabus.
Here.
Okay. Need a motion then to approve the minutes from our regular meeting on January 14th.
I have a question. Should
Yes.
that come before the minute,
No.
before the motion?
First, you gotta have the motion and
Okay.
then second, and then you can discuss it.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting on January 14th, 2015.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any questions or comments?
Clarification on the first main paragraph, about 9 or 10 lines down, starting with,
You wanna just go ahead and read it, Bob, whatever,
yeah,
what section?
no, maybe 6 lines down. Wetzel, no, about 10 lines down. Wetzel indicated that signs constructed for businesses that do not exist would be considered non-compliant with the sign ordinance. I'm not sure what that means.
Well, that was back in the discussion when we asked if they don't build the gas station, can they build the sign? And we said that you can't have a sign up to our code for a business that doesn't
Okay.
exist. So, yeah, the way that that's written, it assumes the sign gets built, but as we discussed with, or as you discussed with the conditions that you put on it, that until it's actually being built, they can't put a sign up.
So that refers to the new big signs. they're
Right,
putting up.
right. Yeah, so they can't put up the sign for a gas station if they never build the gas station.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. And the other thought I have is I think they're called the flare type signs, the balloon or kite type signs that are all over the property. I see that's addressed in the next paragraph, but in the first paragraph, it refers to the 2 big signs we're talking about and not the flare type.
Correct.
And then the paragraph at the bottom of the page, I just got this, so I haven't had a chance to look it over carefully, but we've talked about these flare type signs a lot, and so is that property going to be asked to take those down in a certain period of time?
Yeah, we talked about with that sign discussion, that's going to be, because there's 1 or 2 other businesses downtown that are looking for those types of signs. I've been touching base with other communities on how they deal with them.
Mhm.
And that discussion is going to be probably brought to your next meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the minutes from our regular meeting? We have a motion and a second, so all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Next, we have discussion and possible action on Weyauwega Arts Centennial sign.
Yeah, you'll see there's a picture in the packet. The Gerald Opera House is, as the rendering suggests, and as you can see at the top of the building, it was built in 1915. This year is their 100-year anniversary for the building. The Weyauwega Arts has asked for the opportunity to be able to put up a banner sign that just reflects, celebrating 100 years, 1915 to 2015. The intent would be to put the sign up this year and that it would be a banner. And obviously after 2015, they wouldn't want to have it up anymore. There's 2 different ways that this sign could be permitted. One would be as a wall sign, which is you take out a regular permit with the wall sign. It would be approved potentially indefinitely, but the intent with this isn't to be an indefinite sign, it's just this year. The other piece that could get approval here would be as a temporary banner sign, which is technically what this may be. The problem with permitting temporary banner signs is that the city only really allows them to be up legally for 30 days. And the intent here again is not to have it up indefinitely and to have it up longer than 30 days. I had discussed this a little bit with Mayor Kempf, and then I believe with Council President Gunderson a little bit it came up too, on the idea that, you know, this may be a once every 100 years type event with this sign. The Plan Commission and the City Council technically have the authority to waive fees, to provide special approvals with signs, and because this sign could technically go a couple of different ways, because there might be a little bit of difficulty in permitting this, I talked to the city attorney a little bit on how this may fit into the sign ordinance and the sign permitting process, and he had said, well, it is kind of one of those either way, either you approve it as a permanent sign or you could approve it as a temporary banner sign and then just keep approving it every month for 30 days. One of the recommendations he had was for the potential to waive the sign fees. That's one of the big things. If you take out one sign permit, you'd have one set of fees, but if you took out monthly permits, you could technically have 10 to 12 times the amount of fees. On my end, I think the recommendation I would have is hopefully the Plan Commission or the City Council could take into account that there's a little bit of uncertainty on which way is the accurate way to permit this sign. And because the amount of fees are determined which way you permit it, hopefully you would consider the potential to just waive the permit fee. That way there really is no, you know, you could take a recommendation or take action that just you waive the permit fee, and then the other piece would be, because it would be difficult to determine whether it's permanent or temporary, you can also just set a condition that approves this sign, if that's your wish, for like 8 to 10 months or whatever the remainder of this year would be. So long story short would be, a recommendation I have based on a discussion with the city attorney would be, knowing that this is a once in a 100-year event, there aren't too many buildings that probably would be celebrated for their 100-year birthday. City Hall's a little bit over 100 years old, so that's not, that's not something we'll probably have up there. But again, the recommendation on my end would be to clear up some of the confusion, waive the permitting fees, and then allow it as a banner sign for, I guess, 2015. Are there any questions with that?
Sounds really good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say whatever's easiest for you,
That's
honestly.
yeah.
Did they indicate that they would take it down after a year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, so I mean, you could put a condition on it. One of the ideas that Attorney Kelney had was maybe you approve it for 6 months, and then if after 6 months it starts to get ratty as a banner, that you have the authority to just review it then at 6 months. You could either extend it to the end of the year or tell them to take it down. Because you still want to have some level of enforcement that, part of the permitting is to make sure that what they put up there isn't going to fall apart or look bad. But this is a rendering of what they want to put up, and it's pretty much where they want to put it on their building, and I think it's reasonable anyway.
So do you need a motion?
Yeah, it'd
of
be
such?
a recommendation could be from your committee to the council meeting. Then would be if you're willing to waive the permit fee, it'd be a recommendation to waive the permit fee. And then if you wanted to approve this sign as a banner sign through the end of 2015, or for 6 months or 8 months or whatever you'd like to do with that.
I'll make a motion or a recommendation or a motion.
It'd be a motion to recommend.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to recommend that the city approves the Opera House banner sign, waiving the fees to be taken down at the end of 2015, or unless the condition, you get what I'm saying, the condition,
Deteriorates.
give me the word, warrants taking it down,
Yeah.
Okay,
Second.
all right, we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? about the sign? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
You're good? Thank you.
All right, then we needed to approve resolution 564, a resolution to terminate dissolved tax increment district number 3.
So the resolution here would be the resolution to close TID number 3, which is what we talked about. We close this TIF district. It allows us to create number 6, and it, in consultation with the city attorney, we could have had them at the same meeting, but it's cleaner if we can show to the Department of Revenue that you had one resolution in one meeting, that you closed it, and then in another meeting that you went to open it. Now, when we go to close this, there's roughly, it's about $100,000 in debt that's left over and in some closing costs. And the source of that revenue, or the funding for that, is actually going to be taken from TIF district number 4. Now, usually you cannot take money from one TIF to pay off another one, but you have sort of an unusual circumstance. When the city had borrowed money for TIF number 4 to put in infrastructure, the water tower, road, out to the apartment residential area there, they also borrowed about $400,000 just from the city's general fund. So they took, I think it was $397,000 that instead of borrowing it, the city just sort of loaned it out of cash on hand.
Internal borrowing.
Yep, yep. And that money basically was put into an account that the city still holds, and there's about $380,000 left of that. And so what you can do, instead of having to come up with an extra $100,000, TIF number 4, TID number 4, you could pay back out of that money that was borrowed from the general fund, that again is just sitting in an account, could pay it back to the city's general account, and then take that money out of the general account and pay off TID number 3. So that would be the intent on how we would look to pay that off. I know there was some, maybe over the last 6 to 8 months, we talked about, well, you know, we're gonna maybe have to come up with money on paying that off.
What
And
kind of account is it in?
it's in the local government investment pool account, so it's
Any
like.
penalties?
Nope, it's basically a state, it's not really a state agency, but it's like a state fund that we send money into, and it earns interest monthly. And it's not like a CD where you'd get penalized for pulling it out. It's basically sort of like a bank account that's run by the, it's a bank account specifically set up for governments to invest in, hence the local government investment pool. So, yeah, the money's just been sitting there. The question I had was whether it was for the $1 million or so that's still left for TID number 4 on the bonds, or the borrowing, whether we had to keep like a reserve on hand, and the answer is we don't have to keep a reserve on hand. We've just sort of left that money sit in an account.
What is 3 and what is 4?
Yeah.
What projects are they?
Yep, well, TID number 3 is basically the Industrial Park West,
Mhm.
and it was created in the early 1990s. In about 2 years, it would end up closing itself anyway, but we need to close it to be able to get enough room to create 6, to get AgriPERS building in there. TID 3 is the Industrial Park West, but when it was created knowing that Larson Co-op was going to be built. And then there's language in the TIF, or in the TID paperwork, that says, basically, if nothing else develops, we'll still be good, because they were only gonna borrow enough that they knew Larson Co-op would be able to pay off with the future taxes. TID number 4 then is what they call an overlay TID. So TID number 4 encompasses all of Industrial Park West, which is in number 3, except it doesn't include Larson Co-op. So there was an intent, it's almost like there might have been a little bit of planning way back when, that you would have the ability to close one and still keep all of the undeveloped properties in a TIF district. But number 4 also picked up like Mill Pond Circle, where the apartments are. And then there's a couple other properties that are like 3rd Avenue Extended, where the fields are. Those are in number 4. Basically what you're doing is just taking Larson Co-op out of a TIF district, but the trade-off is you'll be able to get AgriPERS development into a TIF district for number 6.
Thank you.
Yep.
With that account that we take monies out of, any balance remains is to keep that account? Or doesn't it really
Yeah,
matter?
yeah, the account it's, what's in there is $377,000. Technically, it's money that could be spent towards TIF district number 4, but it could also be just paid back to the general fund at some point. Really, it's just sitting in an account right now.
Right. So, but would we close that out completely then, is all I'm saying?
We wouldn't
Doesn't
have to,
matter.
we wouldn't have to. There's, like I said, it's both, I think it's 377,000, 378,000 that's in there. We would pull out just what's necessary to close out number 3. Technically, the money is sitting there and
Yeah.
could be converted to just general savings, you know. So the recommendation would be on this TIF district, or on the resolution for terminating TIF number 3, this starts the process then. And I believe then we get 60 days from the time that the city council approves the resolution to when we have to report with the state that we paid off the debt, and then
So I'll make a
Officially
motion
close it.
to close
it'd be,
TIF district number 3, because that's all we gotta do.
yep,
tonight, right?
approve the resolution.
Or approve
to
the
close.
resolution to
Yep.
close.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion in 2 seconds. Any other questions or comments on the resolution 564? We have to be roll call for this too.
Yep.
Okay.
Brenner,
Aye.
Kemp,
All right,
Appleby,
Aye.
Ebert,
Aye.
Annabus.
Aye.
okay. All ayes. Okay, number 5, any other such matters authorized by the law?
Just a quick report that Mr. Fitzpatrick did submit his resignation from the Plan Commission, so you do have 2 openings, and you do have 2 seats then that would need to be filled on the Plan Commission. Off the top of my head, I do not remember whose term is up, coming up in April, but I believe Mr. Fitzpatrick was one of them, so I'd have to double check on that. That's
So
all
would
I've
the
got.
people, if we did replace him, would they just serve out his, let's say he isn't, he's not a
Yeah.
year from now, would they just serve out?
Yeah, to
This
fill,
term?
yeah. Yep. And I'd have to check his, Mr. Bayman's term. Off the top of my head, I don't remember how long his was going to, but yeah, the appointment could be to fill out the term. Usually that's the best way to go about it, because then you don't get more than 2 or 3 on the same schedule, so. That's all I've got.
So are you gonna start trying to get some candidates or names, or what, how does that, to
Yeah,
replace them? or-
usually what happens is the mayor then can nominate potential appointees
Okay.
to the city council. Yep.
I'll move to adjourn.
Okay. Do I have
I'll
a
second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. We are adjourned.